Good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. You know, I look at this place and I said, gee, what a difference a year makes. I was here last year and I think I made some fairly strong promises that we'd put together a vehicle that would transform the way cars and trucks are powered for the next 100 years. I think a lot of people stared back in almost disbelief, but I'd like to say that what was once a concept, I think has now become a reality, and today I'm proud to say that we're making our East Coast debut of our all-new fuel cell electric vehicle, and it's right over there behind me, behind you, excuse me. It's our 2016 model Toyota Mirai. But I think before I go on any further, I think the best person to talk about it is our President and CEO, Mr. Akio Toyoda. So I'd like to show you a little short video by Mr. Toyoda.
Today, we are at a turning point in automobile history. A turning point where people will embrace a new environmentally friendly car that is a pleasure to drive. A turning point where a four-door sedan can travel 300 miles on a single tank of hydrogen, can be refueled in under 5 minutes, and emit only water vapor. A turning point that represents many years and countless hours of work by our team to create a car that redefines the industry. All of us at Toyota believe in a future that will be safer, greener, and easier for everyone. We imagine a world filled with vehicles that will diminish our dependence on oil and reduce harm to the environment. A bold but inspiring goal, and today it is a reality.
That's great. Great words from President Toyoda. And I'd like to just echo what he said, that the Mirai will hit the streets of California later on this fall. Now, you know, of course, I'd like to believe that Toyota is undoubtedly a trailblazer in this area, and the consumers who picked these vehicles up early, their fleet and our retail buyers, we think embody this very trailblazing attitude. Our volume will start up very slowly. It'll be restricted in the fourth quarter to less than 200 units, but I think we're going to steadily increase it. And I think if some of you may have caught it already this morning, we made a very special announcement that we will increase our global production capacity of the Mirai to approximately 5,700 units by the end of 2017, based on the order taking that's occurring already. Now, as a mid-size fuel cell vehicle, the Mirai has several benefits. It's got zero emissions, and the only thing that ever comes out of its tailpipe is water vapor. We are targeting a vehicle range of 300 miles, and the beauty is that it takes about 5 minutes to fill this vehicle up. So, yeah, for those of you who drive gasoline vehicles, it's roughly the same. Now, for more than a century, the automobile that's been out there, we've been making decisions primarily around socially significant technologies aimed at really building this true hydrogen society, as we're calling it, that we believe will take another 100 years to unfold. Just as the Toyota Prius styling was fairly distinctive when it was launched, and I'd like to think that it still is, we think that the Mirai styling will be seen as well as being very distinctive. And I think if you name your car the Mirai, which means the future, you need to make sure that it looks extremely futuristic. So I'm sure you'll get an opportunity to take a look at that in the very near future. As we're rolling this out, we realize that two of the toughest challenges that we're going to face with this is, first, to make sure we can produce it at a very affordable price. And then the second big challenge is to build the refueling infrastructure. So let me address the price issue first. We will price the Mirai at $57,500 retail price. And I think if you do the mathematics that include federal and state incentives of roughly $13,000, you can get down to a net retail price of $44,500, and that's a California example. But I think even more exciting, what we've heard from customers as we've tested this out, is that there's a monthly payment plan that we'll offer for a 36-month lease. That's $499 a month. And to make it even more interesting beyond that, we will include an ownership experience package that provides both flexibility and value to our initial group of customers. And I think our initial group of customers will like the fact that we'll also cover the cost of fuel. Now, one of the most unique features that I'm very excited about of the Mirai is that it can also serve as a power generator. Fundamentally, like in Washington, where you occasionally have power shutdowns that take place, and I'm told there was one here just a couple of weeks ago, the Mirai is this beautiful opportunity to supply power and energy to your home. So in case of an emergency, you're able to plug the vehicle into your home, and the car will power certain electronic items within your home for roughly up to a week in case, again, as I said, of an emergency. So I'm pretty excited about that power takeoff feature. When I think about it some more, it's almost like having an electric generator in your enclosed garage. And the beauty of it is that even if it's 6 feet of snow outside or minus 30 degrees, you can still power up your vehicle. And the other element is it's zero emissions. Now, just like our first hybrid, the Toyota Prius, we've built the Toyota Mirai from ground up and all in-house. And with more than 20 years of experience in the fuel cell technology, we'd like to think that we're clearly the leaders. Now, as you may have heard a couple of weeks ago, we did something fairly radical for Toyota, and that we will allow the use of all 5,700 or so patents royalty-free that we hold globally to anybody. Now, to many of you that might sound a little bit crazy, and it does on the initial announcement, but it really reflects Toyota's core belief that we have to do things to contribute to our society. And hopefully by sharing these patents with other vehicle manufacturers and parts manufacturers, components and systems can both be refined and their costs can actually come down. And in doing so, we can actually broaden our customer base. Now, our announcement on patents has less to do, and I say that, has less to do with a hydrogen fuel cell car than it does to actually continue improving the hydrogen society. And traditionally, intellectual properties, as you know, are fiercely guarded because they have monetary value. But by eliminating these false boundaries, these corporate boundaries that are in place, we can speed up the metabolism of technological R&D and mobility and move quicker and more economically to a more socially competent technology. And now that brings me all the way back to the second challenge, which was infrastructure. So at Toyota Infrastructure, the infrastructure story is both a good one, not an easy one, but certainly a very good one. Let me tell you about that real briefly. We're confident that hydrogen is going to be the primary fuel for the next 100 years. Both the Toyota Mirai and the Prius have both been industry-changing vehicles, both high-risk gambles, both done fully in-house, but we could not do it because we didn't say we were going to do it just because we could do it. We did it because we should do it. The same can be said about the commitment that we do, that we think is possible from kickstarting the infrastructure for hydrogen refueling. Very simply, we believe that we cannot have the car without the infrastructure. And it is the chicken and the egg story that I'm about to present. So to support our trailblazing Mirai rollout this year, Toyota partnered up with several firms on the West Coast, First Element Fuel and a few others, to establish the hydrogen infrastructure. And on the East Coast, we announced that we will partner with Air Liquide Corporation, which is a very formidable company from Europe, to set up at least 12 state-of-the-art hydrogen infrastructure stations across 5 states. And these states are Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New York, and New Jersey. Now, these states were not selected, in a very non-diligent manner. They've been very strategically selected to ensure that the greater New York and Boston areas, as well as the full backbone of the I-95, are fairly well covered from a beginning standpoint. Now, this plan, like the California model, could not have been accomplished without the full village. It requires a significant amount of collaborative effort from state and regional governments. And the California and the Northeast model show us that there is not one single way in which we're going to approach the infrastructure story. In the Mid-Atlantic region, there are certainly very good positive signs of these opportunities. And we're very encouraged by at least a couple of them. One, the state of Maryland, which was one of the 8 states that last year pledged to develop a zero-emission infrastructure program. We plan to visit the state. We plan to work with the new governor to ensure that their plans continue to move forward in a very positive manner. And right here in Washington, D.C., we plan to work with the new leadership team to make sure that we can actually start adding some infrastructure within the district so that folks over here can actually experience the product. I think as many of you probably know, Toyota is a member of an organization called H2 USA, and we see that as a very good example within the industry of how the Department of Energy and other stakeholders like automakers and other partners can work together to focus their attention on building both the hydrogen fuel cell story, but also the infrastructure story. However, we do realize that it will take all stakeholders, private and public, including federal government and academia, to help build the zero emissions infrastructure. That's why today we're calling on Congress to do something fairly radical. Last year, Congress allowed the incentives on hydrogen for hydrogen companies who are putting in infrastructure and for our customers who are willing to buy hydrogen-powered vehicles to expire. We think that the federal credit expiration last year puts those customers in a fairly disadvantageous position. A plug-in hybrid electric vehicle today can receive $7,500 of incentives, whereas a customer who wants to buy a fuel cell electric vehicle will get zero. So we believe that this inequity needs to be fixed. Consumers should have a choice. The investment community needs a very clear signal that the government is not going to choose winners and losers on their own, and that all these vehicles should be treated fairly equally, and that we should allow the consumers in the market to make that decision. Hydrogen fuel cell vehicles that are launched between 2015 and 2020 will require, we believe, a very concerted effort between automakers, government, regulators, academia, and energy providers to keep this thing sustained. And to raise more awareness around the many benefits of hydrogen fuel cells and the infrastructure story and the need to play to make sure that the playing field is much more knowledge, I'm pleased to say that we're going to kick off a Mirai experience tour across the northeastern seaboard, where we will actually take the vehicles from Massachusetts down over here, hopefully to Washington, D.C., to get people to experience it, to move the process forward. Now, one of the things that we have certainly learned about hydrogen is that long-term, it offers extremely significant cost and convenience opportunities, especially in the refueling stations, where we see a clear business case worthy of providing business case tax incentives. We should note that on a global basis, the word is spreading that automakers are all getting very excited about the hydrogen fuel cell business. Let me offer up a couple of examples where this is happening. In Germany, they've committed that they're going to raise their fueling infrastructure from 15 to 50 stations by the end of this year, and they're ramping up to 1,000 by the end of the decade. And in Japan, they're targeting to go from 17 stations to more than 100 stations by the end of next year. And countries like South Korea, Denmark, UK have already started making significant progress in this area as well. So as you can see just by those numbers, there's significant momentum globally on this particular technology. And I think that this is going to spur demand on a global basis, and it's going to start shifting the industry from being focused heavily on a hydrocarbon-based society to start going towards a hydrogen-based society. Now, beyond the hydrogen society discussion that I'm going through this morning, you'll also see a few other things that I think Toyota is working on, and it focuses around smart mobility. There are two projects underway, and I think there's an iRoad vehicle you can see on the left-hand side over there, where we are focusing on a project called Harmonious Mobility, which provides multimodal battery electric transportation to consumers in Japan and France. Now, in addition to innovative vehicle technology, smart mobility vehicles will be able to connect both from vehicle to vehicle, but vehicle to infrastructure as well. And I think the ultimate goal of all of that is to reduce fatalities down to zero. But now let me come straight back to the Mirai again. I invite you to all drive it. There are some drive tests that are available later on starting this morning under the L Street Bridge. Look for the signs, or if you look for one of our colleagues over here on the floor, they can direct you in that area. So I think when you drive it, that's where I think you'll really be impressed with the Mirai, because the overall dynamic performance, the comfort, the agility, you'll get out of the drive and you'll say, you know what, this drives like a normal car. And that's exactly the feeling that we want you to have. Because I think that beyond the fun that you'll have of driving the vehicle, it'll give you a perspective on how achievable it is to integrate hydrogen into our automotive culture and the future of the hydrogen society. So again, rather than taking up any more of your time, I'd love for you to go take a look at the vehicle. And I thank you for your time and effort today, and have a wonderful day.